Look at this, that lavender carpet there rolled out for the president at the royal court. And there he is walking with Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman. Lavender is a symbol of growth and prosperity. The two leaders further solidifying their economic alliance by signing a $600 billion investment commitment. Before that, President Trump had this to say about the relationship between the two. Listen.
As you know, we have the biggest business leaders in the world here. And they're going to walk away with a lot of checks for a lot of things that you're going to provide. And in the United States, it's probably 2 million jobs that we're talking about this visit. So, number one, I like visiting with you, and we've known each other very well, and I really believe we like each other a lot. And number two, for the United States, we've brought tremendous investment in and tremendous jobs, and we'll continue to service your great country very well.
All right, let's bring in CBS News correspondent Natalie Brand following the trip live from the White House for us. Good to see you, Natalie. Can you walk us through what was included in the agreement we just mentioned?
Hi, Mugo. Good to be with you. We're still waiting to get some more details, but the White House a short time ago did put out just a preliminary fact sheet on what it calls the $600 billion investment commitment made in Saudi Arabia. Note that that was a number, $600 billion, initially floated by the Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman back in January, right after President Trump took office. So what we know so far, according to the Trump administration, is that this agreement includes around $142 billion in defense sales, it says, to build up the capacity of the Saudi armed forces. It also includes some investment in the United States, including $20 billion in AI data centers and energy infrastructure, including $20 billion in AI data centers and energy infrastructure.
This is the Nation's Conspire channel. Welcome to today's show. Everybody needs to see this. And at this point, you shouldn't need much more evidence to realize that Donald Trump is in fact a globalist, that all of our world leaders are predetermined and working together, conspiring together against the people, keeping the people divided and bringing in the new world order. Day one, Donald Trump, AI governance infrastructure. I talked about it for years. And now this is really important because Donald Trump is over in Saudi Arabia, and Trump has secured a $600 billion Saudi deal. And believe me when I tell you how in your face this is. This will make a lot of you who have been following my channel for a while probably laugh, because you'll say, how much more obvious can this stuff actually get? But most of you may remember I've talked about Neom, the line it's called. It's that futuristic AI smart city that they're building out in the middle of the desert, a city that's going to stretch miles long, that's going to be a mirror reflection on each side because, of course, no one's going to be able to see it. It's going to be a mirage in the middle of the desert. And this has been the globalist plan for enslavement. This is going to be the first big experiment, getting people to come to this place thinking that it's a resort or an island where everything is controlled and run through AI. And of course, this will be nothing more than a gigantic prison. But in this dystopia, most people won't realize that they're imprisoned until they actually try to escape one of these places, thinking that a passcode or biometric data will allow them to move around freely. But in fact, it'll do quite the opposite. And Donald Trump, as part of this $600 billion Saudi deal, is in fact going towards helping the creation and the finishing of Neom. For starters, you could ask Grok. Grok is the artificial intelligence that they want you to use, that conservatives use, which was created by Elon Musk. So Grok, which uses the Saturn symbol, of course, as they all do, they always reveal themselves in front of us. You say, what is part of this deal, Grok? Tell us more about what's inside this deal. Well, the U.S.-Saudi Strategic Economic Partnership, which was signed today, May 13, 2025, aims to boost investments with Saudi Arabia, pledging $600 billion and Trump targeting $1 trillion. It supports Vision 2030, focusing on job creation, AI, and projects like Neom. Neom, the smart city. So who else is there? Who else is there? Who would you think would be there when we're talking about Saudi Arabia and America getting together to talk about $1 billion, some arms deals that are trillions of dollars between one another, which is all just kind of a facade talk about what they're really actually conspiring and doing. But even CNN tells you, Elon Musk is there. And who else? Jeff Bezos is there. What does Amazon have to do with any of this? I mean, if that doesn't reveal this American corporation, because that's what it is. These corporations in America, the Jeff Bezoses of the world, the Elon Musks of the world, working with the Donald Trumps of the world, who are fawning over getting these fantasy projects like Neom created. And these are your prisons. You can go into some of the articles, including the ones from Reuters. Big investments are being done right now in Saudi Arabia. It says business leaders at the investment forum included Larry Fink, the CEO of asset management firm BlackRock. We had the CEO of asset manager of Blackstone and the Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent all in attendance. So you have, once again, Donald Trump connected to Larry Fink. And most conservatives know that Larry Fink is responsible for most of the chaos in the world. We know BlackRock, Vanguard, City Street, they own everything. And we have many pictures, and many times Donald Trump has talked about how great Larry Fink is. But of course, he's against the globalists, right? He's playing 6D chess. So he's there with Larry Fink. And then Elon Musk chatted briefly with Trump and the Crown Prince, who was otherwise known as MBS, during a palace reception for the U.S. president. Top U.S. businessmen, including Musk, the Tesla and SpaceX chief, and OpenAI CEO Sam Altman also joined Trump. So you have Sam Altman, who is the one who is working on AI infrastructure in America. You have these tech guys. What do they have to do with any of this stuff? What do they have to do? If they're creating technology out in Silicon Valley for your entertainment, why are they meeting with world leaders and building out this artificial intelligence in prison, which is what it is. It's imprisonment. They are planning on using this against the people. So you have Altman, Musk, Bezos, Trump, Fink, just to name a few. Goes on to say they're focused on diversifying the Saudi economy in a major reform program dubbed Vision 2030. That includes giga projects such as Neom, a futuristic city the size of Belgium. The size of Belgium. And most people, specifically the alt-right media, when they talk about Neom and the line, they talk about it like it's a fantasy that's not being completed. And every time I do a video about it, people go, oh, they're not really building it out. It's not really getting done. Oh, they've stopped production on it. And you can actually see some of the aerial shots over there. It is in full force, and it will be done by 2030. And guess whose money's actually funding this? Well, the United States of America's tax money, for starters. So the Saudi crown prince, Mohammed bin Salman, is the one that Trump is in all these photos with, who he's meeting with, whose ring, they're kissing each other's rings, right? He is the one who's responsible for Neom. It's his vision, and they call it Vision 2030. And they really should just call it the Greater Israel Plan, which has been long sought after for the New World Order. In fact, it is really part of the backbone of the New World Order infrastructure, is having the Greater Israel in place. And you could see on the map of the Greater Israel Plan, you could see how part of that expands Israel into Saudi Arabia. Then if you look at the map of Neom, you notice, wow, Neom and the Greater Israel seem to almost line up perfectly with one another. Then you start saying to yourself, right, what's been going on over there with Israel and Gaza? Well, the Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu unveiled the regional plan to build a massive free trade zone with rail service to Neom. Remember, a couple of months ago, I covered this. Netanyahu's vision for Gaza 2035 revealed the three-step program for returning Gaza to self-governance. Self-governance is AI governance. So when you hear self-governance and you feel like this is something that's going to be freedom, it's not. We're hearing conservatives use this self-governance thing just like they use it with Bitcoin, when they think they're free of the Federal Reserve, free trade. Oh, we're not letting the government get involved anymore. They think that this entire psyop that they're calling self-governance is freedom from government overreach. In fact, it's more government overreach. It's artificial intelligence governance, which is the core of what the World Economic Forum and the United Nations is trying to establish. And that's why all these people are conspiring together, hence nations conspire, right? So we know that they have this plan for Gaza. You might remember Donald Trump also talked about the Gaza Strip being turned over to the United States by Israel at the conclusion of all the fighting that's going on. They're going to turn it into the most beautiful communities in the world. Trump posted that video on his Truth Social account with the golden statue of Donald Trump. And of course, I talked in great detail about going back to Trump's first presidential term, that members of his cabinet like Mike Pompeo and Benjamin Netanyahu and Trump himself were meeting with Saudi Arabia then, formulating the plans and the steps forward for Neom to be completed by 2030. And they tried to pretend like, no, it's all what we're doing there. Well, now they're not hiding it anymore. They're not hiding the satellite images that are showing the palace that is emerging. That's what they're calling it, a palace at the world's biggest construction site. So when you hear about these big dollars that are being spent between America and Saudi Arabia, you're thinking about oil, you're thinking about arms deals. That's what they want you paying attention to. But if you actually even read in the articles, they mention Neom. Just most people don't know what that means. What is the Neom Project? The Neom Project is the world's largest prison. And when this thing is complete, the goal of this is to have the entire world within arm's reach of one another. They're trying to cram everyone over there in that specific area. And I also talked about this with Neom a few months ago. Neuralink competitor Paradromics secured an investment from Saudi Arabia's Neom. And that is so that Paradromics, which is another version of Neuralink, can operate their offices inside of the Neom because everything's going to run on brain chips inside of this prison. These are going to be prisoners who think that they're free, who are going to have Neuralink brain-computer interfaces installed in their bodies, most likely willingly, because these people are under such mind control that they'll willingly do this. So they've got Paradromics over inside of Neom already, and Jeff Bezos is there meeting with them and meeting with Paradromics. So Jeff Bezos and Bill Gates have their own version of the brain-computer interface called Synchron. Right? So Neom, the smart city built from scratch in the Arabian desert, is going to be completed by 2030. They're calling it Vision 2030. Neom was even at the World Economic Forum 2 months ago talking in Davos, where they were mapping this out and talking to all of the globalists there about their master plan and how this entire thing was going to run on artificial intelligence. The one thing that they leave out because they don't want people to get too scared is how the human beings are going to be running on these brain chips, on these brain-computer interfaces. So for anyone out there new that has no idea what this thing looks like, they remember these commercials, they try to market this to you like it's a resort. Remember that these are your prisons. These are the same people who try to market you pharmaceuticals as if they're for your benefit. And they show you people on the beach making out, beautiful women and men, or older men and women, but everybody's having a great time. Then they're talking about how you're going to get chronic diarrhea for the rest of your life as a side effect, and you might get dementia as well. And everybody watches those commercials just like, well, that looks really relaxing and nice. Well, this is the same type of nonsense that they put out there. They put a nice little background music behind it. People go, wow, I'd love to live in Neom. It's better than my small apartment that I live in. No, trust me, you don't want to live there. This is Neom.
What is Neom? This is Neom, or here, to be more precise, in the northwest of Saudi Arabia. But Neom is more than a place. It's a home for people who dream big. Bigger than that. That's more like it. It'll be a hub for innovation, an entirely new model for sustainable living, the vision for a new future. In fact, that's how it got its name. But what will be there? There's Oxagon, a thriving city at the crossroads of the world, where advanced manufacturing will enable industries of the future. Trojana, a year-round mountain destination. And just remember to pack your skis when you visit. Or if skiing's not your thing, there's always Sindala, one of Neom's many beautiful islands, perfect for some R&R. And a line, a 500-meter high, 200-meter wide, 170-kilometer long city in the shape of, well, a line. No roads, cars, or emissions. And everything its 9 million residents could ever need within a 5-minute walk. But best of all, the entire region will offer unparalleled access to nature and will be powered by clean energy. All within easy reach of the rest of the world. I know what you're thinking. Why does the world need Neom?
That's a good question.
The world needs Neom because the world needs change. That's what we mean when we say
made to change.
Neom represents a global opportunity for one, changing how the world does business by making the region a special economic zone, easing the way for entrepreneurs to blaze their trail. 2, changing the way we live our lives with preventative healthcare and the highest standards of livability. Sounds nice, right? And 3, changing how we look after nature and our planet. Because without this, what use are 1 and 2? But how will Neom achieve these aims, you may ask? Within Neom are 14 sectors, spearheaded by the world's best talent. Each sector has been designed to advance technology and push the very limits of human knowledge. Imagine Neom as a prototype for a better future. A future for all. One being built to last. Sound good? Great. So when the world asks, what is Neom? You'll know to answer that Neom's a place that'll change the way we live on this planet. Simple, really.
And again, remember, like I said earlier, Saudi Arabia has hired that startup company to develop brain-computer control implants because these people are going to have this implanted in them inside of this AI prison, which is what they're building out, an AI prison. And a lot of these countries are going to link up with big tech and different companies and other startup-like companies, right? You notice, like I've said before, with Bezos and Gates, Democrats, right? Brain chip. Because what? Most Democrats hate Elon Musk now, so they're not going to take his brain chip, but they'll take Bezos and Gates when they tell you that the only way to get a phone is to operate on a brain-computer interface, right? So Trump and Musk are obviously yoked up at the hip because they're best of friends, but they don't mention too often the Neuralink. They only mention the Tesla cars because they don't want to scare Christians away yet. They want to make sure Christians fall for this. And then I want to make sure that people out there pay attention to the fact, again, that Elon Musk is talking openly about BCIs like Neuralink are the way forward, that smartphones will be obsolete by 2030. And at the same time he's telling you that, he's talking about Starlink, setting up Starlink all around us, and how all you got to do is point up and look up. Well, guess what? You won't have to point up because the goal here is a Neuralink BCI in your body. And these smart cities, this is how human beings are going to operate. Here's another thing. Startup city groups say they're meeting with Trump officials to push the deregulated freedom cities. Again, that word, deregulated, self-governance. These are all the things that the World Economic Forum talk about. AI governance, smart cities. Conservatives are aware of this. Pay attention then to what Trump is doing here with your minds. Startup city groups want to start freedom cities. Trump's talked about freedom cities in the past, remember?
Almost 1/3 of the landmass of the United States is owned by the federal government, with just a very, very small portion of that land, just a fraction, 1/2 of 1%. Would you believe that? We should hold a contest to charter up to 10 new cities and award them to the best proposals for development. In other words, we'll actually build new cities in our country again. These freedom cities will reopen the frontier, reignite American imagination, and give hundreds of thousands of young people and other people, all hardworking families, a new shot at home ownership and, in fact, the American dream.
So these things are going to be marketed differently to you based on your politics, based on all these little things they're going to do to manipulate you. But everybody going forward is going to go forward with the tech. And these characters like Bezos and Musk and Gates have a major role to play in it. So Trump is out there. He's helping fund with Larry Fink these deals with Saudi Arabia that are about Neom and completing the project by 2030, what they're calling Vision 2030. Yet they'll continually get defended because most of the people out there will push this stuff away because they'll just say, well, Trump doesn't want a smart city. He wants a freedom city. It's the same thing. It's just BS marketing. Everything's going to run through AI governance. AI governance is the Tower of Babel rebuilt. It's the only way the New World Order works, through artificial intelligence. The only way they could sync up the world together into a massive database where they have access and control of everything with every citizen, global citizens. Of course, Trump's not going to market it to you that way because then you'd wake up and realize he's in the NWO. So they're just using little terms with you. Like Trump doesn't talk about smart cities, he talks about freedom cities. But he talks to you about AI governance. On day one, he said, we're going to invest $500 trillion into AI governance in America, AI infrastructure with its own power grid. So we never go offline because that's more important than civilians actually losing power because of a faulty power grid, right? I mean, this stuff is right in front of everyone and they refuse to see it. He's there. He's meeting with them. They're talking about the Neom project. This is the first smart city prison on a large scale that we are going to see over in Saudi Arabia. And trust me, there's going to be people taking off the streets that they're going to be putting in here and implanting brain chips in. And there's going to be people who voluntarily, like lab rats did, the same lab rats that in 2021 went and poisoned themselves because they were told they can get a $100 gift card and go to Burger King and get a Whopper. If they went and put poison in their body, they went and did it. So you don't think they'll do the same thing? Oh, come live freely over here at Neom. It's like paradise. You go to the beach a little bit once in a while. We'll let you out of your cage. You work in your home. You do everything virtually. All of a sudden, you start to the walls start, closing in a little bit. You're like, wait, this kind of reminds me when they had me quarantined for all those months. Yeah, exactly. But here's the difference. You'll be chipped then. Although I guess a lot of people already got chipped during that last science experiment that, well, most people don't even realize they were a part of. So Trump is there in Saudi Arabia. Musk, Bezos. I'll cover in more detail some of the other things that were discussed there, specifically with Musk and the Saudis talking about these Tesla bots and how wonderful they are, and Starlink. There's more about Starlink because that's your Skynet. Remember, Starlink needs to be up. Everything's going to be connected through Skynet, which is Starlink. And all these people are there. And all you hear the conservatives talking about is how great it is. Oh, Trump's making us money over there. They remain distracted because they throw these stories out there that Saudi Arabia bought Donald Trump an airplane for $400 million. And everybody bickers over that. Like, oh, why should he take a $400 million airplane from the Saudis? And they fight about this stuff. Well, these people are conspiring against you and openly showing you that they're globalists when they meet together. And then they say, hey, why don't we invest all this money? You go, well, whose money is that? It's the taxpayer money. What are we going to invest it in? Well, we're not going to invest it in Elmo doing trans drag in Iraq anymore, like they were gaslighting you with. No, we're going to put it into the prison that we plan on putting these people into, our AI governance prisons, which eventually will be everywhere. But this is the big one. The line is the big one. It's literally like a mirage. Think about that. This thing is a mirror on each side. It's going to be in the middle of the desert. You will not be able to escape this. Where are you going to go? Run into the middle of the desert? Like in a horror movie and run out of water in 5 minutes and die from dehydration? People out in the middle, out in the cities, they won't be able to see it because it's a mirror. It's a mirage in the middle of the desert. And they're telling you that it's paradise. Yeah, minus the Aradice and enter the risen prison. I thank everybody for being here. Hope you're all doing well. God bless you and your families as always.